Hello dear friends, I'm glad to welcome you to our channel. In this video I want to answer several similar questions that our viewers asked in the comments under the last video I published. The question was whether it's possible to do without picking flower seedlings and instead just add soil between the rows as the seedlings grow. Friends, I'll share my own experience and tell you how we do it. Here are trays with the most developed seedlings. The seedlings in these trays have already been picked. They were originally sown in a smaller tray, like this one. But then, as they grew, we did the picking, increased the spacing between the rows and increased the distance between the plants. These are tagetes, and here we have gazania. And we did the same thing with the viola seedlings. Friends, if you prefer to avoid the often tedious task of picking out individual seedlings, here's a practical and insightful real-life example for you. These are pelargonium seedlings, the seeds of which were carefully sown in trays designed with small cell volumes, which are ideal for initial growth. So in this case, no picking was done. These particular plants are growing just as they originally sprouted, even though they were carefully sown at precisely the same time as these other distinct plants. So, my dear friends, when sowing seeds in trays, we can effectively skip the entire picking process. This method saves a lot of time and effort. At the very least, we skip the first picking. Look what would happen if we didn't do the picking and just sowed everything in a single container. Here is a petunia, a young petunia that sprouted just 2 or 3 days ago. Right now it seems like it has enough space. It feels great because it has plenty of room. But as it grows, in a couple of weeks, it will already be very crowded here, and there will be increased humidity, competition for light, nutrients and moisture. As a result, the plant will become stressed, and naturally, it won't develop well under stress. Meanwhile, after transplanting, notice how these plants are feeling. They have a rich green color, they are quite sturdy, they are not elongated, and the need for healing between the rows disappeared on its own, because in this transplanted state, the plants do not compete with each other and do not stretch out. Also, transplanting involves pinching the root. But I'll tell you that if we delay with the transplanting, say we do it on the 15th or 20th day, or if our plant develops slowly at the initial stage after sprouting, then you should try to preserve the root as much as possible during pinching, so that the root damage is minimal. Look, when growing seedlings in a tray, we don't touch the root at all. We don't do any transplanting. The plant feels fine and the root is comfortable. But why exactly do we pinch the root? For example, with tomatoes, we specifically do this so that the primary taproot gradually loses its distinctly pronounced taproot characteristic, or how should I more precisely express it? And so that the root system develops more into a fibrous type. But even when growing tomatoes, well, ours have just sprouted, so there's nothing to show yet, friends. In the tray, by sowing into the tray, we later transplant from the tray cell into a seedling cup. We don't pinch the root, yet it still develops into a fibrous system because it naturally changes its form. The taproot has nowhere to grow in the tray cell, so the fibrous roots start to develop more. So even without pinching during transplanting, we can achieve what we need. That is, the development of a fibrous root system. Therefore, my dear friends, if you truly wish to completely skip the initial transplanting process, it's absolutely best to sow your seeds directly into the growing trays. As you can see right now, Tatiana Viktorovna is sowing into trays. She possesses ample and sufficient space to meticulously arrange the various trays upon the sturdy shelves and robust racks, allowing for an organized and efficient workflow. And that's why growing seedlings in trays really makes the work easier and eliminates the need for the first transplanting. Friends, after the first transplanting, we will once again transplant these plants into seedling cups. Is it possible not to transplant these into seedling cups? These plants right here. Yes, you can. Now please take a look at your screens, for example, at the bush petunia. These particular plants only underwent the initial crucial transplanting process. That is to say, from their original seed trays, they were carefully transplanted into these designated boxes and then allowed to grow and develop further. And you can now clearly observe their remarkable development and progress for yourself. There are already flowers, already buds, and the plants are quite sturdy. But of course, you can't keep these plants in these boxes any longer. Otherwise, they will start to stretch out and naturally, the quality will significantly decrease. And finally, once again, friends, to sum up the video and what I've said and to answer viewers' questions, If we sow our seedlings, the seeds for seedlings in this way, then no amount of top dressing will help in growing quality seedlings. At the very least, you need to sow them at such distances and try adding more soil, but we didn't do it that way. I'll end the video here. Thank you all for your attention. All the best to you. Goodbye. See you next time.